No matter what you do on social media, no matter what you do on television commentaries, no matter how many committees you sit, how many television studios that you visit, you cannot alter even a word in the Nigerian law. This is the place you can alter, you can tinker, you can add or subtract. And this is what we do. This is public hearing. And so today, I'm happy that we are all here. And for those who are not here, I do hope, Chairman, the House of Representatives will also have an arrangement with the two Senator Zangodara. I'm happy also that you are here. I hope you have a continuous arrangement for engagements until we dot the I's and cross the T's to ensure that every person is satisfied that we have met laws for the benefit of all Nigerians and for the upliftment of the Nigerian economy. Harnessing resources for development is not something that you leave to government alone. It is something that every Nigerian child, every Nigerian woman, every Nigerian adult should be interested in. And so, yes, I've seen the consultant, and I thank you for your brilliance, because you have done a lot to douse all the speculations. And you need to know that the National Assembly, particularly the Senate that I belong and we belong, we are not interested in making laws for ourselves. We want to leave what I may call enduring legacies for the future. And I also believe strongly that President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is quite aware that laws are meant to be obeyed, and laws are meant for the good governance of the country. And therefore, in coming up with reforms, is looking at the situation yesterday, is looking at the situation today, and is looking at Nigeria in the future with the way the global trend is going in terms of economic indices and changes. So whenever reforms come, sometimes it might be difficult for you to comprehend, but the best place for you to come and ventilate your thoughts is right here in the National Assembly. So I welcome you. You are in the right place. So it's a great honor for me as President of the Senate to be invited by the Chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, the Vice Chairman and members to come and join you in the first public hearing on the various tax reform bills pending before both chambers of the National Assembly. He has given you the history of when the bills were submitted for our scrutiny, our consideration. Your microphone was crying, that's why I left it. When Sani was speaking, the microphone was crying. So I don't know what happened to it. So we are gathering today in a very pivotal moment, one that calls us to think, to reform, and to modernize and optimize our tax system. For me, this is just not a task, it's a profound responsibility. We must embrace with courage, with wisdom, and steadfast commitment to the Nigerian people. And I think what we need to do is to try our best to even discuss and douse most of the speculations, most of the misconceptions, most of the misleading insinuations, because I don't think there's anybody that is interested in making a law that will not be in the interest of Nigerians. Otherwise, that law will not last. And so we were very determined as a people not to just kill the baby at birth. We decided to make sure that we pass it through second reading, and then we subject it to your own scrutiny. And that's what we are doing. Because the way it works in the National Assembly is that if a bill is submitted and that bill does not pass through second reading, it can no longer be presented in the life of that assembly. Senator Alero, I know I'm right. The Senate President is never wrong. So it can no longer be presented in the life of that assembly. So we decided that it was not a good idea to follow the trend of people who were misleading the public, shouting and talking. That it was important that we pass second reading and give you the opportunity to do all this, ask all the questions, discuss, and at the end we come to something agreeable for all of us. So let's look to the future. Let's remember always that any nation that fails to adapt to new revenue system and continues in its old ways and dwindling resources, skyrocketing prices, inflation, and with technology taking over even the oil industry in terms of financial income, Nigeria needed to think out of the box. This is part of the ways we can diversify our economy by making sure that we get it right. I don't think at the moment that up to 30% of Nigerians pay tax, and yet 100% of Nigerians want good roads. They want culverts. They want dualized thoroughfares. They would like trains. They would like skyscrapers. They want Nigeria to be modernized in a hurry. But those things need money. But I know that most Nigerians will not like to pay tax. So at the end of what we are doing, it will be easy for you to pay tax whether you like it or not. And also, we will now oversight government to make sure that whatever revenue comes into the purse of government is well utilized through proper oversight functions. So we were very sure. Some of you are not aware that some of the laws in our system on taxation were made during the colonial era. And so there was need for us to take a look, for instance, the law on stamp duties. When was it done? I think it was before 1959. And so it remains here today. We imported colonial laws. We also brought in military edicts and decrees into our legal system on taxation and all that. And then we are even cheating ourselves. You go to other countries, you pay tax even when you are standing in a line. If you park your car by the side and you want to talk to somebody, you pay tax, because they will say that this is not the correct place for you to park. And then you drive your car too fast, you pay tax. But in Nigeria, I don't think there's anybody that has been taxed for driving at 140, 120, when it's supposed to go at less than 100. If you stop somewhere and pay and say, you go to the FRS and pay for overspeeding, the person will look at you as if you are mad. They may even slap you. And so this is Nigeria. Nobody believes in the rule of law, and nobody believes that tax works. But it is from the accumulation of those small taxes that we tend to overlook that we will do all the amenities, we set the schools right, and get infrastructure right for the benefit of the country. So the reform was long overdue, but it needed the heart of somebody who loves Nigeria. It needed somebody who also has futuristic thinking. It needed somebody who has done it before. When we were campaigning, I used to tell people that President Bola Tinubu made Lagos at a time that they were getting less than 600 million a month as internally generated revenue. By the time you finish with the policies, I recall in the last few years, Lagos records Lagos records well over 50 billion. I don't know, he was part of the architects, the coordinated minister of the economy. Well, I don't know what I've right. Lagos records well over 50 billion a year now. Am I right? Well over 50 billion a year on just internally generated revenue. And so it's more than that. More than 50 billion. What you make in a month is even staggering. Up to 80 billion a month. So, a year or something? In a year. 600 million a month. He was in the class of 1999 as a governor, so he should be in a position to know. So whatever you were doing right in Lagos, you can see it's reflected in the infrastructure in Lagos. If we get this right, it will be reflected in the infrastructure in Nigeria. All we need is to have a country where people will not cry because they don't have water to drink. We want a country where people can see good roads to pass. We want a country where there is security. Security costs money. We want a country where there will be employment opportunities for thousands of youths. We are churning out thousands of graduates, improving the educational sector with more universities and tertiary institutions, and yet we are not creating jobs. Why? Because the monies are not really there. So it should begin to look inwards, because no other country will come and do it for us. Even your population is intimidating. No other country will want to come and say and put money in a country with so much population, a country that if you give it too much money, it becomes the giant of the world. So it's left to you to either be a sleeping elephant or to rise up to be a moving lion in the economic sector of the world. So this is where we are. And let me just point out that an old African proverb teaches us that a bird that does not leave its nest will never know the richness of the forest. If you keep on doing the same thing over and over, you will never know the advantage of reform. Today, we choose to leave behind outdated tax practices and bureaucratic bottlenecks spreading its wings over the tax administration in Nigeria. So we must begin to think out of the box to bring up a robust, transparent, and a conducive environment for government to bring revenue. The public hearing here represents more than just a legislative requirement. It's a platform for you to dialogue where lawmakers will take notes, where tax administrators will give their inputs, where businessmen and women would give ideas on how to grow businesses and the level of taxation that they think can assist them for their businesses to grow. Effective tax regime is all that Nigeria is craving for. People should forget the idea of control. This one wants to control. There are so many speculations I don't want to go into. So the proposed bills, SB 583, SB 584, SB 585, and SB 586, they are thoughtfully designed. One, to harmonize revenue administration across all tiers of government, and then, of course, reduce the cost of tax collection and enhance compliance by all and sundry, foster transparency, accountability, and bring about efficiency in tax administration. It will introduce digital innovations to simplify tax payments, and it will close the loopholes of leakages in tax administration. Please, my apologies for the audio. We haven't been in this hall for years, for a long time since we moved to our other is fluctuating and trying to, no weapon fashioned against this microphone shall prosper. It's working now. It's working now. Which one? Don't go there. You have courage? It's working? So, yeah, I believe that the challenge before us transcends the simple act of passing new laws. Let's construct a tax system that inspires confidence, promotes development, fuels national growth. We cannot afford to be fragmented in our approach to revenue generation. Instead, we must come together, federal, state, and local governments alongside the private sector and civil society to create a tax system that truly works for all. When I was a young man, I used to drive from Lagos to my home. And every checkpoint would stop me along Lagos or before Benin. I have to pay tax. And they will say local government tax. And most times, you won't be up to 1 mile apart. And then you pay local government tax, pay local government tax, pay local government tax. So if you are not careful, you may have to go to the bank along the road to go and get money so that you can continue your journey up to Onitsha. And for me, I don't think that was fair. And every local government wants to outdo the other. And most times they will cause accident when vehicles will crowd the road, and then there is an accident, bodies are strewn on the road, they will run so that nobody will know that they were the ones pursuing the vehicle to get tax. We can't allow that kind of situation. It's very primitive in a way. And then even foreigners that come to Nigeria, you go to their countries in the maritime sector, very seamless. They will be smiling while they are collecting your money. And you will pay while you are smiling. And they will get richer. But they come to our country and they are surprised they can move from point A to B. After just paying the usual small amount, they don't bother about other taxes that they have in their countries. So I think now it's time for us to come together to work hard. I want to say that the success of this public hearing, for me, will assist the Senate and the National Assembly as a whole to craft the kind of legislations, tinker with the various bills brought before us to enable the stakeholders to be happy and also the citizens to do their best to assist their country to work better. So let's seize this moment and plan for the future of Nigeria. It's not just going to be a one-day affair. It's going to be for 2 full days. I hope those who sit on television will be here. I'm looking forward to seeing them. Some of them sit on television, they play better football than footballers. They know when the footballer should have scored, but they wouldn't know whether the footballer was tired. I'm tired of social media discussion on tax. I want to stay with you for 2 days. Let us discuss. So I call on all and sundry and all Nigerians who have issues with the bills. Read the bills before you comment. Even some of our leaders never opened a page of these bills submitted to the National Assembly before they started running television to condemn. Communiques have been issued by people who ought to know. In fact, I know somebody who came to me and said, you know the VAT that he proposed in the new tax regime would improve the revenue of Kano State by 500%. But I was one of those who opposed it. At that time, I did not know. Senate President, what do I do? I said, you are just being a Nigerian. Did you even read the bill? He said, no, that they just showed him the page that showed that it's going to be redistributed. In fact, somebody said, oh, that all the VATs in Nigeria will now be collected at one central location, Lagos. So even if you drink beer in Maiduguri or Sokoto, if the plant is located in Ogun State, it will go to the headquarters building in Lagos. And then the state that consumed the tax will lose. But that is not the idea. The idea is that VAT is a consumption tax. And therefore the area that consumes the product should also benefit from the product. So even the Lagos people were talking about were also complaining that it will shorten the revenue of Lagos. So at the end, I stopped listening to people. I came to my colleagues and I told them, let us hold closed session and send this thing to the public for discussion. It was based on anger, because you can't imagine a state, for instance, that the bill is meant to favor is the same state that is complaining about the bill, and then nobody in that state, including the commissioners of finance and budget, had opened a page of the bill to even see what is inside. So please, if you don't have copies, ask the chairman to give you copies. Since it's a 2-day event, use today to listen to other people. Don't jump up to contribute based on social media discussions. Go and read first. When we meet again tomorrow, you come and make your contribution, and it's also online. You can download, go through it. The area you don't want, please tell us. For me, I will not run the Nigerian Senate on the pages, on the basis of what they write on social media. I'm sorry, social media for me is garbage in, garbage out. I'm not making a regular speech. I'm only advising Nigerians. Tally a while. Look at your country, look at your tax system. How has it been in the past? Do we need reform? If you agree we need reform, bring your ideas. Marry your ideas with your colleagues. Marry your ideas with your lawmakers. Discuss with your CSOs, your NGOs, and discuss with parliamentarians. Send us your recommendations. We'll collate them. We will assess them. And I can assure you that by the time we are through 5 years from today, we say yes, that the 10th National Assembly did the best for this country, and that is why we are where we are. I welcome you. May God bless your deliberations.
Thank you.
Whenever the Senate President is seated, he takes charge of any proceedings. But this one is basically for the Committee on Finance. So I won't deny you the opportunity of presiding. But let me welcome my colleagues in their numbers. Many of them were in Lagos with me yesterday. And like he said, some went to represent me in various functions across the nation. And so some are coming directly from the airport. In fact, the Committee on Upstream, I had to recall them from oversight. Senator Eten Williams and his group. You saw my missed calls, right? Because I kept calling you. This is the future of Nigeria, this tax reform. We must get it right. That's why I said all oversight functions must be closed until we finish with this business. We are not in a hurry. You can see we started from October. We don't have a position outside the bills, discuss clause by clause, and then the chairman and his committee members will collate and bring for our consideration. So we are not in a hurry. We want the best for the country. We are not making laws for ourselves. We are making laws for future generations of Nigerians. And senators, I'm very happy that all of you are here, and more senators are still coming. So I thank you for abandoning all your other functions for the day and making sure that you come here to take part in the event. So Senator Sani Musa, I won't just step out of here until I listen to, I would have loved to listen to 2 people, maybe 1 for. So the coordinating minister of the economy, and then 1 against. If there's any NGO or CSO that came to oppose, I want to hear what you are opposing. Because inside one of those clauses, I realized that almost 70% of Nigerians will be exempted from tax. If you don't earn, if your business doesn't earn up to 1 million naira, how much? 50 billion in a year, you won't pay tax. But people are not aware. So it's also a way to tax what is taxable and also to relieve from taxation those that are relievable. So if you have, like for me, a market woman in my village that operates in small commodities, and then you look at her total income in the year, and it's not up to 50 million, it means she won't pay tax. So you can imagine the amount of money that we are leaving in the hands of the vulnerables and the poor people in the society. But how many people know? People don't know. Agricultural products are also exempted. Really? No, don't tell me. Then in that case, they don't need to debate. We can just stand up and go and pass it. So, Coordinating Minister of the Economy, I want to now formally hand over to the chairman of the Committee on Finance. This is your thought. Let me listen to at least 2 people. 1 for, and 1 that may have ideas to assist us before I take my leave. I thank you. It's on that note, in a very sober way, in a very humble way, with mixed feelings, that I invite all those who are going to oppose everything inside these bills, and those who are going to support, and those who don't even know what are contained inside these bills, and those who have been doing mouth commentaries on television and radio to then come together as I declare this open in the name of Almighty God.